All right. I'm officially sick of this pandemic bullshit. This coronavirus nonsense. It's just gotten out of control, and I'm tired of it. It's frustrating, as I know that it is for many of you. I mean, I, I'm just whining a little bit here, obviously, but it's stupid. This is completely ridiculous. So yesterday, we had in the United States, yesterday was the 6th of May, or I'm sorry, the 5th of May. Today's the 6th of May. We had 2,350 reported coronavirus deaths, supposedly. Now you can see that peak ranks right up there among the highest peaks. Let me turn this damn moving average off, dude. You can see, there's that peak. And a week ago, 2470, and a week before that, 2683. It's kind of like losing weight, trying to lose weight. You don't really aren't going to be able to see much getting on a scale every single day, right? But you get on the scale once a week at the same time, right? If you get on the scale every Tuesday morning, Tuesday night or whatever, I mean, you can see the peaks are pretty consistent from Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and they're pretty consistent on Sundays, being the low reporting days, which I did a video on yesterday. But here's what's really pissing me off about this. Not the number of deaths that are being reported or the fraudulency of all of that. But now you have the government, but now you have the government, like you hear it on a daily basis. We're going to ease into reopening the United States. We're going to ease into reopen. We're going to reopen. Some states are going to be allowed to reopen. States are reopening. We're going to have to reopen. We're reopening. White House rejects coronavirus spike forecast as states reopen. Americans restart lives in three biggest states reopen. Americans push to reopen states as U.S. coronavirus death toll rises. How do you rationalize that you called away an emergency? We were having, 300, 400 deaths per day 6 weeks ago, supposed deaths per day from this thing, and now we're having 2,500, averaging between 2,000 and 3,000 deaths per day, supposedly, from this virus. And we're definitely not any better off than when they called away a pandemic emergency. And now they're like, we're just going to go ahead and reopen things. It'll be okay. It doesn't make any sense. And here's what I think is going on. I think what's happened is the government has created a monster here. They've created their own monster, their own Frankenstein's monster, and it's out of control. And there's not much they can do about it. Now, I'm not a big conspiracy theorist. I'm just a rationalist. I just try to look at things and understand them from a rational point of view. And so what I think has gone on, at least to some extent, was, the government and many people in the medical industry, in the medical field, and many leftist liberals saw this pandemic as an opportunity to work their agendas. The government's agenda is to save us, right? To demonstrate its worth, to solidify its power. And those people in the medical industry, there's people that have gone, we've trained our whole lives for this moment, right? There's a pandemic and we're going to save everybody from this pandemic. This is what we've trained ourselves for for years and decades, and now it's all going to pay off, and we're going to rush in and be the heroes and tell everybody what they need to do. And then the liberals are like, we hate capitalism, and fuck the American economy anyway. The only way there's going to be egalitarianism throughout the world is if the United States loses some of its power. So yeah, shut that motherfucker down. We'll all sit at home and get some unemployment and cash some government checks and get some government bailouts, and yeah, it's all good, right? There's a lot of agendas out there, right? But how does the government, how do they capitalize on their agenda for something like this? Well, their agenda is, they're the government. They're going to save us. They're going to come up with a plan. They're going to, save us from this pandemic emergency, right? But in order for them to do that, they know that we have to, as the citizenry, we have to believe that there is an emergency. We have to be sufficiently scared. We have to have the fear sufficiently put into us, and so they start banging the drum that people are dying, people are dying, people are dying in mass, and nobody is immune. It can happen to you. It can happen to me. We're all going to die if we don't do this. Do the social distancing, and we don't all shut down the businesses and blah 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 blah. Whatever it is that they wanted us to do, they started beating this drum, right? But they had to get the medical industry on board first of all. The doctors, the guys signing the death certificates, have to be on board. So how do you get them on board? Well, you get their bosses on board. So the government, the CDC, the WHO, all of these big government entities say, hey, listen, the federal government, hey, if somebody comes in to the hospital and they have chest pains or they have pneumonia or they have this, that, the congestion, whatever, even if they're not tested positive, even if you don't know with 100% certainty, you can just go ahead and assume that they died from corona. If they die, just go ahead and list COVID-19 as a cause of death, and that's a COVID-related death right there. And the hospitals and doctors and everybody are like, why would we do that? Well, what do we get out of it? Well, look, I mean, there's federal funds that have to be distributed, so I'm sure you guys want some of this money. And the places that it's impacted the worst are going to get the biggest piece of the pie, right? So the hospitals, the bosses are now putting pressure on the doctors. Hey, list some COVID-19 deaths. We need to get our government payday, right? And so, well, that's become the policy. So these deaths are being listed. Who knows what the reality is? Who knows what percentage of those daily deaths? I mean, I already demonstrated yesterday. There's no consistency on the reporting of deaths day to day throughout a week. There's a cycle. There's an obvious cycle being demonstrated just based on the day of the week. Day of the week. Sundays are the lowest. Tuesdays and Wednesdays are the highest. You can look at that and see that's clear. What other explanation can you come up with other than, doctors go home on the weekends? They're hanging out with the family, doing their barbecues in the backyards, taking their yachts out or whatever. On Fridays, Saturdays, and Fridays are taking off early. Saturdays and Sundays, you got a skeleton crew at the hospital, right? It doesn't make any sense. If this is an emergency and a pandemic, why isn't there some sort of consistency day to day? Why isn't everybody on call? Why aren't they? Why isn't that consistent? It doesn't make any sense, right? So we already know that that's going on. Well, we got a pretty good idea. We may not know it there may be other reasons that I don't see, but that's the most logical, rational thing that I can think of. So what percentage of those deaths that are being reported on a daily basis are known to be COVID-19 deaths, 100%, 90%, 80%, right? How many of those people are actually tested, that die? You don't know. They could die of anything, the flu, influenza, right? Just natural causes. Who knows? But here's the funny thing is now the government is starting to get afraid. The government is like, okay, we've created this monster now. There's nothing that we can do about it. That's policy now. So the doctors are going to continue to report the deaths. That's COVID related. The numbers of deaths are still going to be consistently high with no sign really of them going down anytime in the near future. Right? So the government is just going to have to say, listen, enough's enough. We all need to go back to work. Everybody's got to go back to work. We can only write so many checks. We can only print so much money. We can only cover so much of this debacle. Right. So at some point, even the government, from the White House on, is already, saying, all right, we really need to reopen things here. Many of the governors are like, yeah, we need to reopen things. How many deaths we have yesterday? 2,600, 2,500. Don't worry about that. I know that we called it an emergency when it was 500, but and we're at 2,500. No sign of going down. But you know what? We got to get back to work, people. It's a joke, dude. This whole thing is fraudulent. I still don't know anybody personally who has died from COVID-19. I think I had COVID-19 back in February. I mean, I think I had it. It was a minor cold. It was I had a sore throat for 2 days, and then the sniffles for 2 days, and a little ear pressure, and then it moved down into my chest, and then I got left with a lingering cough that lasted for about 3 weeks. Pretty sure I had COVID before I even knew what COVID-19 was. The worst part about it was the cough. I had a barking cough that just felt like it was never going to go away. But it took about 3 weeks, and it eventually went away. Didn't go to the doctor, didn't go to the hospital, didn't know what COVID was until about a week or two after that. We went into this whole scare thing. And then about a week or two after that, I actually read the symptoms. And I said, you know what? I had it. So I believe that it's real. Do I believe that it is as severe enough that it warrants shutting the country down for indefinitely? No. Do I believe that there has been agendas at work manipulating this stuff? Yeah, but I'm sick of it at this point. And it's a joke. In my state, it's a joke. I'm looking at a traffic jam right now. People are all out. Drove by Lowe's a little while ago. People are pouring out the back end. The parking lot's full. It's fake. You're not going to be able to stop it without some sort of totalitarian authority to force people to just live in their basements. If you're worried about getting it, then you should isolate yourself. For the rest of us, let us worry about us. Yeah, get back to work, people. Get back to work.